What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to talk about some very important levels to watch for the broader markets. I want to talk about some very, very big updates from Cathie Wood, as we're seeing some new headlines coming out about her. And I want to kind of like clarify something very important about that, which is note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And don't forget about my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. Deposit $1,000 and you're guaranteed 15. And the offer ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, for Tesla, during the pre-market session, we saw a dip all the way down here on the 245 area. Then we saw some buyers defend it, trying to push it back up exactly as we predicted, back up to about 254, a little bit short of my 255 target, but still once again very close. And then I told everyone that, the move would likely not last that long for Tesla because of the fact that we're in this like consolidation phase right now. So Tesla pumped a bit only to come back down. And now we're stuck between these EMAs. This is going to be acting as our range for the rest of the day, most likely. So the question remains, what's happening with the news? And I'll talk more about what's happening with the charts in just a couple of minutes. But I want to go over some news involving Cathie Wood. So I'm seeing a lot of headlines from Benzinga, not to mention Yahoo Finance, that are saying that Cathie Wood is once again continuing to dump Tesla, this and that. And although that is somewhat true, she is dumping some of her Tesla shares, taking some profits, which is completely normal. It's a very, very minuscule amount of profit taken relative to the actual position in itself. And I think that that's the thing that is not really clarified by a lot of these headlines, a lot of these articles. They just make it seem like she's just dumping, 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 and that's it. They don't really account for the real, more comprehensive picture. So what's happening is Cathie Wood and ARK's next generation internet ETF. So during one of their other ETF funds, they're basically sold about 62,151 shares of Tesla. They sold that many, and that's actually worth another like $16 million. So is it really that big of a deal? I would say that not really. It's just what these hedge funds tend to do. They tend to just take profits during very, very big runs, and then they start to reposition into different areas. They find more dip buying opportunities, right? So that's all she's doing. It's not really that big of a deal. It's 16 million worth another 16 million. Why do I say it's not that big of a deal? Because of this. When you look at their overall holdings, this is the ARK Invest main fund. They have about $778 million worth of Tesla shares that they're holding. That's a 14% weight in their overall ETF. And then the second biggest holding is going to be Roku, which has about a $526 million stake. That's about a 9.63% stake overall. Overall, Tesla has such a large percentage of the fund that doesn't really make that much sense to panic over them selling 20 million, 16 million at a time, as they're still holding over 778 million in total. So it doesn't really worry me. I'm not really worried about these pieces of news. So when you see lots of headlines coming out, Cathie Wood is dumping her Tesla shares. Maybe she's dumping some. Yeah, maybe she's taking some profits, sure, but it's not really that big compared to how many are actually being held. So I just want to clarify that. Now, on top of this, despite that, I think that Cathie Wood is continuing to reiterate that Tesla has a $1 trillion revenue opportunity thanks to autonomous vehicles. She's been repeating this again, and her view has been very consistent on how bullish she is on AI and their robotaxi slash cybercab. So I'm very excited about that as well. She thinks it's going to help eventually bring in trillions in revenue as years progress. But this is going to be dependent in terms of its timing of this. It depends on when they launch their cybercab, when that officially comes out. Who knows? It may take, a couple of years. It could take many years, right? It really depends. But I just want to say that her view ultimately will be correct, in my opinion. I think that Tesla will eventually hit hundreds of billions, if not trillions, in revenue. But the real timing of that is what's yet to be determined. It could take, many years. It could take a decade from now. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, let's just now focus on Tesla. So Tesla's in a very interesting place. It's basically shuffling around 250. What happened was we have this resistance around 253. This is close to our 20 EMA. And if that support fails us at 250, we're looking for 248, followed by 246 as our two supports. That's the 50 EMA. So I presume Tesla's just going to be stuck in this range, going back and forth, not really doing a whole lot. With some more data that came out for today, just know that the unemployment numbers were very close to expectations, which is why the market started to rebound. And it's also because of Amazon's earnings. And then with manufacturing numbers, everything was very close. We did see the PMI a little bit below expectations, but everything else was quite decent. That's what we're seeing. For SPY, we have 573 as max pain, a 3.84 put to call ratio. So the majority of positions are still in puts. So the market makers benefit from kind of like holding us near 573, which is what they're probably trying to do. So as a result of that, the market's shuffling now. We basically started off with a big pump. We pumped very nicely, exactly as predicted, and now the market's shuffling. And I think Tesla's kind of following that trend. We started off with a dip and a pump on Tesla, up to 254. Now we're just stuck in the range. So I think we're just going to shuffle in this 250 zone for some time and then stay within these EMA bounds. Unless we lose 246, I think that Tesla is just going to be stuck in this range. So that's pretty much all that's happening for now. We're just kind of stuck. It's a Friday. That's very, very normal for Fridays. But on the other hand, when you look at SPY, this is on an uptrend technically. It's been starting to uptrend this short-term time frame. But the question now remains, especially with the election coming up, do we pump even more next week and establish a lower high and then reject? Or do we end up straight up rejecting from here? Do we make a full recovery after the election, or do we make a lower high and reject? We'll have to wait and see. There is a risk of us making a lower high and rejecting. I'm going to be eyeing this gap to see if we fill this gap next week or not. But for today specifically, I think that volume is slowing down. That's a one issue. And then when you look at like the 5 minute time frame, this is what SPY looks like, guys. So it started off with a very nice pump in the morning, and now it's just shuffling. So we pumped, now we're shuffling back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We're just gonna get tighter and tighter. So that's what it's gonna most likely do. It's no surprise considering max pain's at 573. We might close very close to that. So we're just kind of range bound right now, not really doing much. Same thing with ES, we're just range bound. We're essentially looking at 5780 is our main support and 5800 is the main resistance. If we do break below this, though, I'd be looking at this level right here, 5769. Otherwise, I just see us being range bound. This is exactly what I called out for Nvidia. I said this is going to likely see a little bit of a pump and then a lot of shuffling. We pumped to basically 137. I was talking about 136.5, so went a little bit above that. And since then, we've been shuffling. So we're looking at 136 at our 50 EMA support and 137.5 is our resistance. We're going back and forth for now, not really doing a whole lot. So that's all I'm seeing. For Bitcoin, we're also just kind of we start off with a push only to dip back down. We dipped down to about 69,000 only to come back up. So we're just shuffling as well on Bitcoin. I think that the election is the next major catalyst for us. We're just waiting for that. Looking at NQ, same thing. We pumped 20,200 is my target. We actually went a little bit above that, and now we're just kind of shuffling again. So we're stuck between 20,280 and about 20,200. We're going to likely continue to trade sideways, so give this some time. For the QQQ, we're also range bound. So we have this 490 area as our resistance, then we have 488 as our main support. We're going back and forth for now. And then we'll just have to see how things are progressing. So give this the time it needs. We're just going to be stuck, in my opinion. Apple's also just range bound. It actually got a little pump only to come back down. And we're just going to be stuck between 221 and 223 for the majority of the day. Like it's kind of boring, pretty much just range bound. For the IWM, we pumped very nicely to 221. We have not been able to break through that. So I think the range is to watch for is between 219 and 221. We're going to likely continue to range trade, but I think we might dip closer to 218 later on. So I do see a little bit of weakness building here. So there's going to be a lot of shuffling and possibly a small dip on the IWM. I'm going to go back to Coinbase. We are talking about how there might be a little pump coming as long as we hold above 180. We held above it nicely. Now we're just stuck within these ranges between 188 and 183. We're just kind of shuffling. So I think it's just going to continue to do that. For a few more, we have Amazon. We hit 200. Now we're looking at 198 as our support. So 198 to 200 is the range. Amazon is shuffling, but we did a great job. We're still up 7%, so we're holding up very, very well. Just know that 200 is a tough resistance, so it might slow down. Meta is more bullish. We might be looking for an attempt to get back up to about 573. We're doing a good job at making higher lows right here, so it might attempt to try to push. But overall, very choppy as well. Microsoft dipping a little bit, still kind of choppy. It could come back down to this imbalance towards like 413. 413 to 412 is likely coming. So I think 412 could come in then a rebound, and we're just going to continue to trade sideways. Google as well is just trading sideways between 173.37 about basically 172. We remain just range bound. So anyways, I just want to say I really appreciate you guys so much for listening. Hope you guys have a very, very fantastic rest of your day. As far as Tesla goes, we're range bound for the most part. There wasn't really too much news that came out that was too significant. And I just see Tesla continuing to remain range bound. Now we're returning to about 248. If that does not hold us, don't forget about this support right here. So this is the range I'm talking about. We're still stuck within this range between 253 and 246. But if we do lose 246, I will turn a little bit more bearish. So we haven't really done that yet. And I do presume we're going to most likely just be stuck in this range for the majority of the day. But we'll see how it goes. Anyways, that's it for Tesla. So watch this range, do what you have to do, guys. I'll be back possibly in a couple of hours for another update. If not, after the market close, we'll have to see about that. But until then, I'll see you guys soon and peace out.